Welcome back everyone. I would like to thank each and every one of you guys for providing huge support to the channel. I am truly grateful. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. 300 years ago, the will of heaven manifested, bringing with it countless hidden kingdoms and dungeons that descended upon the earth. Alongside them came powerful demons who heralded humanity's impending apocalypse. Amidst the chaos, the Awakened emerged, individuals who possessed formidable abilities enabling them to defeat these monsters and safeguard the world from annihilation. To combat the monstrous threat, the Awakened continued to explore the secret kingdoms to acquire wealth and resources. Nations invested heavily in cultivating these awakened individuals, ensuring that all youth awakened to their potential at the age of 18. The day arrived for students turning 18 to undergo their awakening ceremony, where touching a magical blue crystal determined their class. Several students touched the crystal that day. Wang Wai, a third-year student from Class 2, failed to awaken a class and was labeled as classless. In contrast, Lai Wai from Class 3 successfully awakened as a swordsman, while Wan Hao from Class 3 of the second year awakened as a crafter. Awakenings typically fell into three categories: combat, support, and creation. Combat was the most sought after due to its practicality, desired by all. In contrast, the creation category, populated by those unable to fight, was considered the weakest and was often looked down upon by others. This revision maintains the essence of the original, while smoothing out the flow and enhancing clarity. As several more students touched the crystal, one with purple hair erupted with joy upon awakening in the combat category as a magic swordsman. In contrast, another student became crestfallen, shedding tears upon discovering he had awakened in the creation category. He couldn't fathom why fate had chosen a path ill-suited for combat. Once the awakening ceremony concluded, the classes were further categorized into common, secret, and divine ranks. The divine rank was exceedingly rare, appearing only once every 100 years. Today, all eyes were on Jiang Chen, our protagonist, as it was his turn to touch the crystal and awaken his class. Jiang Chen placed his hand on the crystal, which immediately radiated with an intense light, leaving the other students awestruck. A boy with brown hair pointed excitedly at Jiang Chen, declaring him the Academy's prodigy. Another student confirmed that this phenomenon signaled an extraordinary awakening. As Jiang Chen's touch intensified, the crystal's brilliance surged skyward. Speculation spread among the students, wondering if Jiang Chen's class might be divine, the first in Jiang City in centuries. Within moments, the radiant light coalesced into a colossal tree in the heavens, visible from every corner of the city. It was said that every time a divine rank class awakened, it heralded a phenomenon capable of shaking heaven and earth. Several seconds later, Jiang Chen's awakening was successful. With one hand on the crystal and the other casually in his pants pocket, he gazed calmly at the sky above. Just then, Director Wang appeared. He approached Jiang Chen, congratulating him as the school's pride. Though aware of Jiang Chen's potential to awaken a combat class, Director Wang had not anticipated a divine class.
After expressing his surprise, Director Wang eagerly asked Jiang Chen about his awakened class. Jiang Chen turned slightly towards the director, a hint of amusement in his smile. He calmly explained that the class he had awakened was not one focused on combat. Director Wang, visibly taken aback, stared at Jiang Chen in disbelief. Assuming Jiang had perhaps awakened a support class instead, Director Wang inquired further. Jiang Chen turned fully towards Director Wang, extending his hands to reveal ethereal plants formed from spirits within his palms. With quiet confidence, he announced to everyone present that he had awakened the divine rank creation class known as Spiritual Master. Jiang Chen added that his talent was geared towards aiding in the growth of plantations and nurturing small creatures. Upon hearing this, both Director Wang and the others were taken aback. Their surprised expressions reflected their disappointment, as the creation class lacked combat abilities, even at the divine rank level. The professor accompanying Director Wang tried to console Jiang Chen, urging him not to be disheartened. He pointed out that while Jiang might not excel in combat, his skills as a spiritual master could find valuable applications in research. However, he regretfully mentioned that the recommendation he had previously promised would no longer be possible. Before the professor could finish, Jiang Chen politely interrupted. He turned towards the professor with a smile, thanking him. Slipping his hands into his jacket pockets, Jang Chen calmly informed the professors that he had other plans to pursue. One of the students nearby chuckled and remarked to his classmate that this turn of events was a comedy, thinking Jang Chen had awoken to some powerful divine combat class. Only to find out he was a creation class. His friend shrugged and remarked that life often brings unexpected surprises. Jang Chen added that everyone had expected the academy prodigy, Zhang, to awaken a combat class, and now despite his academic achievements, he felt considered useless. With his hands in his pockets, Jang Chen headed towards the exit while nearby students began mocking him. One student remarked to others that it was amusing to watch, given Jang Chen had been the academy's hardest worker since he arrived. Another lamented how he had put in so much effort only to end up with a creation class. A third student chimed in, mentioning that Lin, the school beauty who always came in second place, had awakened a secret combat class. Despite the jokes, Jang Chen simply smiled. Just moments ago, those same students had been harsh, but now their tone had shifted. He hadn't anticipated how drastically awakening to a creation class would change perceptions. Reflecting on this, he couldn't deny that strength seemed to be the only thing that truly mattered in this world. Curious about his creation class, Jang Chen extended his hand, summoning a system window above his palm. According to the system notification, Jang Chen had successfully completed his awakening. He had awakened the divine rank class called Spiritual Master, and this had also fulfilled the conditions to unlock the natural calamity insect system. With the initial mother of insects now accessible, Jang Chen turned his head to the side, a smile playing on his lips as he stared at the system window. To him, this class seemed like a perfect fit. Our protagonist's name was Jang Chen. Having been reborn into this awakened world after death, he found it transformed by the end of a dark era, now teeming with monsters and dungeons that demanded respect for the strong. Born an orphan in this harsh new reality, Jang Chen had scraped by, giving his all before even reaching 18. He had expected to rely solely on his own skills to survive. Yet, a month ago, on an ordinary day, a system window appeared before him, announcing the merge of the Insect Calamity System after his class awakening, promising its activation upon successful transfer. Resting his chin on his hand, Jang Chen gazed thoughtfully at the system window. He knew well that the insect race, which had once wrought devastation upon humanity during the Dark Era, was extraordinarily powerful. Legend had it that during the last calamity, 9 out of the 12 human kings had been sacrificed to seal their threat. Closing his fist tightly, Jang Chen reaffirmed his belief that in this world, strength was indeed paramount, a truth beyond question. Fixated on the system window, his body exuding a potent energy, he resolved that harnessing the strength of the insect race for himself would render them powerless against him. Acting on instinct, Jang Chen activated the system, instantly finding himself transported inside. As he looked around, confusion crept in. He raised his hand to shield his eyes, realizing he was in his own sea of consciousness. Before him stood a magnificent spiritual tree. Gazing at this sight, Jang Chen pondered if this tree represented his awakened talent. He hadn't expected it to manifest as a tree. Additional system windows appeared, revealing several class talents Jang Chen possessed. These talents were evolutions of all things, each requiring sacrifice. They could be used once every 10 days, limited to one use per target. The first talent, Fruits of All Things, allowed Jang Chen to advance the growth progress of fruits through sacrifice, occasionally yielding a special fruit. The second talent, Improved Growth, boosted the growth rate of living beings by 10%. This ability had an 8-hour cooldown. Resting his hand on his chin, Jang Chen studied the system window. He found it impressive that the system had analyzed his talents proactively. Despite their lack of combat applications, each talent could be harnessed effectively within his system. As Jang Chen was lost in thought, the system window suddenly appeared, asking if he wanted to begin summoning the mother insect. Without hesitation, Jang Chen confirmed his decision, and immediately, a sinister energy surged from the ground. A notification informed him that the summoning process of the mother insect had commenced. Watching the ominous energy coalesce, Jang Chen marveled at the imposing presence of the mother insect. Moments later, another system window announced the successful summoning of the natural calamity rank mother insect, named Nine Wings of Miasma. This colossal creature loomed before him, its gaze fixed upon Jang Chen. Taking several steps back in awe, Jang Chen observed the status window of the mother insect, now identified as 9 miasma wing. From the abyss, she was known as the Sovereign of Death, a calamitous force that had wreaked havoc akin to a natural disaster during the Third Era before vanishing. Currently, her devouring value was at 0%, and Jang Chen possessed a 100% affinity with the insect mother. To unlock abilities, Jang knew he needed to proceed with the devouring process and commence breeding the next generation of insects. As the insect mother approached him, Jang Chen couldn't help but wonder at her colossal size and pondered the significance of her presence. The insect mother fixed her gaze on Jang, addressing him as her master. Introducing herself as Little Nine, she expressed her intense hunger for devouring fierce beasts. Another system window promptly notified Jang that the insect mother's growth rate had increased, allowing him to enhance her using a sacrificial object. Jang lifted his head slightly, focusing on the system window. With the ability to enhance without sacrificing an object thanks to his talent, he knew time was of the essence. Without hesitation, he instructed the system to upgrade the insect mother. A powerful green light enveloped the insect mother's body as she began to evolve. Observing her transformation, Jang understood she needed to devour to level up, making her a formidable entity not easily satisfied. Her aura intensified, prompting Jang to assume an offensive stance. Gradually, the insect mother's form shifted, taking on a humanoid appearance. Moments later, she successfully completed her evolution, radiating a potent aura. With her now sporting white hair and clad in armor, she fixed Jang with a piercing gaze filled with determination. Slowly advancing towards Jang, her demeanor turned ominous, and a system window materialized above her head. The Queen of the New Plague completed a vital transition and leveled up, gaining new abilities in the process. Her first ability, Nurture, allowed her to share experience tenfold with her host. The second ability, Poisonous Mist, transformed her into a deadly miasma capable of corroding everything it touched. Her third and final ability, Communion, enhanced all of the host's abilities by 20%. Upon witnessing the transformation of the insect mother, Jang Chen was taken aback. As she gained momentum, she pounced on Jang, embracing him warmly. She explained that Little Nine had evolved. Confused yet touched by the gesture, Jang turned his head slightly towards her and couldn't help but blush at the sight of the insect mother now in human form. She released him from the embrace, and he gently stroked her head. She closed her eyes, clenched her fists, and addressed Jang as her master with a smile. She explained that Little Nine desired to devour flesh and blood. As Jang continued to stroke her head, a status window appeared above her. Her name was 9 Miasma Wing, and she possessed 4 abilities: Poisonous Mist, Feed, Fury, and United. Currently, her devouring value was at 0. Once the bar filled, she could begin spawning offspring.
She possessed 2 passive abilities, Experience Return and Attribute Enhancement. Jiang gently stroked Little Nine's head, his gaze shifting to her stat window. He speculated that his spiritual master talent could hasten the insect mother's rapid growth and enhance her experience accumulation, thereby accelerating his own advancement. Moreover, the insect mother augmented all his attributes by 20%, making Jiang's class perfectly synergistic with this system. With this setup, he no longer felt the need for a combat-oriented class. Spreading his hands out to his sides, a swarm of insects emerged from his palms, leaving him in awe. With swift kills and consumption, Jiang envisioned building a formidable insect army in no time. He glanced at the towering spiritual tree, pondering the recent system message. Insects, Abyss, a calamitous catastrophe. Given the incomplete details, revealing this power to others posed grave risks. He could face dire consequences if discovered. Slipping his hands into his pockets, Jiang continued to observe the spiritual tree, deciding to conceal his true abilities for now, assuming the identity of a creator through his class. The insect mother's poisonous miasma abilities were now his tools for devouring monsters and bolstering his strength. Jiang wasn't one to hide. He yearned to grow strong enough to showcase his abilities to the world. Lost in contemplation, he noticed ripples in the sea of consciousness. The insect mother reacted swiftly, taking flight as both of them focused on the water. Jiang explained to her that this signaled only one thing. Suddenly, the insect mother turned with a fierce expression, catching Jiang's attention. As she glanced back, a smile crossed her face as she conveyed a sense of imminent danger to Jiang. Acting swiftly, Jiang exited the system space. What he encountered in front of him left him stunned. Standing there was a man much taller than Jiang, with black hair, a beard, and a scar over his eye. The man approached Jiang, locking eyes with him in silence for several moments. Finally, he inquired whether Jiang was responsible for the awakening phenomenon witnessed throughout the city. Jiang gritted his teeth, realizing the man was at least a master rank or higher. Alert and cautious, he pondered the reasons behind being pursued. As the man fixed his intense gaze on Jiang, a potent green aura began emanating from his body, drawing the attention of onlookers. Even from a distance, they could sense his formidable presence, and speculated about his awakened level. Seeing him engaged with Jiang Chen, bystanders speculated if a conflict was brewing. The man continued to stare into Jiang's eyes, causing Jiang to feel uneasy about the intense scrutiny. Without uttering a word, the man exerted a silent pressure on Jiang, leaving him uncertain if this was a test of some kind. In that tense moment, the insect mother emerged, casually licking her finger as she approached Jiang, her eyes filled with murderous intent towards the man. She warned Jiang that the man posed a threat and expressed a desire to devour him, finding him appetizing. Jiang's alarm grew as several warning notifications from the system confirmed the danger. The insect mother had identified the man as a high-value target for devouring and was preparing to attack. Reacting instinctively, Jiang's own aura surged powerfully, spreading in all directions. He realized the gravity of the situation as even Little Nine now perceived the threat and prepared to defend. The students who had previously mocked Jiang felt the chilling and sinister aura emanating from him, covering their faces in fear and questioning why Jiang suddenly exuded such an intense presence. Filled with fury, Jiang locked eyes with the man, realizing that the insect mother became more aggressive when her devouring urge was low. To prevent any mishaps, he urgently needed to find monsters for Little Nine to consume. The man, unperturbed by Jiang's powerful aura, simply smiled. Seeing this, Jiang understood that the man intended to test his strength, inadvertently triggering the insect mother.
Fortunately, Jiang managed to suppress her quickly. A system notification confirmed her temporary suppression, ensuring her devouring urge remained low to avoid further incidents. Jiang knew he had to focus on feeding and nurturing the insect mother without delay. With his hands in his jacket pockets, the man continued to observe Jiang, offering him praise. Despite having recently awakened, Jiang had not only faced the man's test but also managed to retaliate. The man complimented Jiang, acknowledging him as worthy of divine awakening and hinting at a limitless future. Listening intently, Jiang approached the man and, locking gazes, questioned his identity. The man smiled warmly, extending his hand and introducing himself as Jai Gang, leader of the Night Watch. Impressed by Yang's strength, Jai Gang invited him to join their ranks. Jiang paused, weighing his options, and felt a sense of relief that his secret hadn't been exposed. Meeting Jai Gang's gaze, he contemplated the offer seriously, considering the potential benefits and alliances that joining the Night Watch could bring. Upon hearing Jai Gang's affiliation with the Night Watch, Jiang was taken aback. The Night Watch was a specialized organization commissioned by Grand Zia to combat demons and hordes of beasts, always at the forefront of investigating new realms and dungeons. Known for its high mortality rate due to constant frontline battles, it was an option most people avoided. However, Jiang saw potential in this opportunity. The insect mother required continuous consumption of monster flesh and blood to build up her devouring value and reproduce. Engaging with large monsters in the wild presented the perfect environment for her growth. Whether through devouring or breeding, joining the Night Watch offered a strategic advantage. As Jiang contemplated Jai Gang's outstretched hand, a smile crept across his face. The Night Watch seemed tailor-made for his needs. Meanwhile, students nearby murmured about the organization's perilous reputation and doubted Jiang would join, given its risks and challenges. Nevertheless, Jiang remained undeterred. The risks were manageable compared to the benefits for his and the insect mother's development. With resolve, he extended his hand to Jai Gang, accepting the offer to join the Night Watch and embark on a path fraught with danger and opportunity. Upon hearing Jai Gang's reassurances and offer of comprehensive training, Jiang sensed an opportunity he couldn't refuse. Without hesitation, he shook Jai Gang's hand and acknowledged him as leader of the Night Watch. Jiang expressed his conviction that their generation must embrace their duty to restore the organization's former glory. As Jiang spoke, he conveyed his readiness to commit to the Night Watch. Jai Gang appeared momentarily confused, unaware of Yang's ulterior motive involving insect breeding. Before Jiang could clarify, the insect mother intervened, bombarding him with urgent system notifications. She was visibly furious, expressing her discontent at Yang's decision because she hungered for the man. Feeling the pressure and nervousness mounting, Jiang closed his eyes briefly, affirming to Jai Gang that his earlier statement about reliance on the Night Watch was indeed true. With a quick excuse about an urgent task, Jiang departed, leaving Jai Gang to process the unexpected turn of events. Inwardly, Jiang knew he needed to find a suitable environment to feed the insect mother and manage her devouring instincts before they caused more complications. Jiang began to distance himself from Jai Gang, bidding him farewell with a wave and promising to be at the Night Watch headquarters in 3 days. Jai Gang remained silent, possibly contemplating the unexpected turn of events. Meanwhile, Jiang realized he had forgotten to inquire about Jai Gang's hidden profession. Just then, 2 men descended from the sky near Jai Gang. One of them was the 8th elder from the martial arts academy. Jai Gang turned to them, asserting that anyone aiming to recruit from the Night Watch was too late. The elder wasted no time and asked directly about the individual who awakened a divine rank creation class. Jai Gang, initially bewildered, questioned the elder's intent. Approaching him with a surprised expression, the elder inquired if Jai Gang intended to let a divine rank creation join the Night Watch only to meet a grim fate. Realizing the implications, Jai Gang grasped that Jiang possessed a divine rank creation class. Meanwhile, Jiang had moved into the city where Uncle Wang approached him. Uncle Wang asked if Jiang was responsible for the recent phenomenon in the city. Jiang confirmed it, prompting a woman with purple hair to intervene, warning Uncle Wang discreetly about the potential consequences of drawing attention. Uncle Wang chuckled, brushing off the woman's caution with a light-hearted remark about his talkative nature. Jiang approached them, closing his eyes and smiling as he reassured Uncle Wang that there was nothing embarrassing about the situation. Uncle Wang then turned to Jiang and mentioned that while creation classes couldn't fight directly, companies often sought them out for cultivating spiritual plants. He praised Jiang, imagining how proud his parents would be of him. Jiang expressed gratitude to everyone who had supported him over the years in their building, promising not to forget them in the future. Uncle Wang reassured Jiang not to worry about trivial matters and seized the opportunity to invite him along to a beginner-level secret realm expedition for equipment gathering. Jiang readily agreed and thanked Uncle Wang. Shortly after, a system message confirmed the completion of their team formation. Within minutes, they traversed a portal and entered the secret realm. Jiang, hands in his jacket pockets, surveyed the surroundings, pondering whether this truly was the interior of the secret realm. Suddenly, torches within the realm ignited, signaling the completion of their group's entry. The adventure in the secret realm was about to begin, promising challenges and opportunities for Jiang and his newfound companions. Inside the Temple of the Dead, all eyes turned toward Jiang and his companions. This C-rank secret realm guaranteed a 100% drop rate for items and equipment, with experience points only awarded upon completion, leaving early meant forfeiting both rewards. Uncle Wang grew nervous upon realizing they faced undead soldiers, questioning why the system had matched them with such a challenging dungeon. Observing the undead soldiers, Jiang understood that this secret realm wouldn't be easy to navigate. A girl with purple hair approached Uncle Wang, explaining that due to Yang's divine ranked awakening, the celestial system had assigned them a higher-level secret realm. Uncle Wang acknowledged this but reminded her that Jiang belonged to the creation category. A girl with brown hair also joined the discussion, questioning why they didn't consider abandoning the secret realm. Before she could finish, Uncle Wang interrupted, drawing his sword and reassuring everyone that encountering a secret realm of this caliber was a rare opportunity. With determination, the group prepared to face the challenges ahead, knowing that overcoming this trial could yield substantial rewards and growth for Jiang and his companions. As Uncle Wong unsheathed his sword, the undead soldiers within the Temple of the Dead stirred with anger. He swiftly urged Jang to step back, cautioning that these foes were more perilous than typical C-rank monsters. Uncle Wong instructed Jang to remain behind while they pressed forward towards the dungeon's core. With decisive strikes, Uncle Wong and his companions engaged the undead soldiers. He delivered a powerful blow to one of them, swiftly ending its unlife. Turning to Xiao Jai, Uncle Wong requested a quick enhancement of his abilities, which she promptly granted, bolstering his combat prowess. Meanwhile, Jang observed from a distance, reflecting on the harsh reality faced by adventurers who fought daily to survive. He pondered how Xiao Jai, driven by the need to heal her brother's eyes, had entered this perilous profession. Amidst these thoughts, Jang felt a growing resolve to swiftly grow stronger and repay his companions for their support. Lost in contemplation, Yang's distraction inadvertently caused the insect mother to begin manifesting herself. She put her hand under her chin and while looking at the undead soldier's corpse, she told Jang that there were many monsters and blood here, and she wanted to devour them. While Jang had his hands in his pants pocket, he turned his body towards the undead soldier's corpse and started smiling. He thought that Little Nine had already detected the corpse. Given this situation, Jang decided to first test Little Nine's abilities. He reached out his hand to the side and used the level 1 poison barrier skill called Corrosion. A fog of poison appeared in his palm, and he ordered Little Nine to devour the undead soldier's corpse. She thanked him, and the poison fog began to advance towards the corpses and slowly started to devour them. In a matter of seconds, the monster corpses began to disappear. Jang realized that the monster corpses corroded as soon as they made contact with the poisonous fog. After seeing this, Jang had no doubt that Little Nine's poisonous fog was very powerful. After Little Nine devoured the corpse, the devouring value rose to 10 points. The level of the monsters was too low, causing the growth rate to be slow. So Little Nine needed to devour more monsters. While Jang had one hand in his pocket, he slightly turned his head back and thought that Uncle Wong and the other two were truly partners who had been working together for years. In such a short time, they had already advanced to the depths of the dungeon. Since the poisonous mist was an area skill and Jang still couldn't control it accurately, there could still be accidental injuries. To avoid this, Jang decided to follow Uncle Wong and the others from behind and take care of the monsters' corpses. At that moment, Little Nine caught his attention. She told Jang that she felt something. Jang turned his head to the side and saw more monsters starting to emerge from the ground. Little Nine told him that she sensed freshness and blood in that direction. These monsters were level 10 shadow lurkers. They had a strength of 20 points, agility of 15 points, defense of 10 points, and stamina of 5 points. These monsters were lurking in the stragglers, while Jang was staring at the shadow lurker monster. He began to wonder if its name was in red because its level was much higher than his. However, in terms of attributes, these monsters were completely inferior to Jang, who had the skill enhancement united. A statistics window of Jang appeared. He had a devouring value of level 1. His identity was the Lord of Insects. His occupation was divine rank spiritual master. And he had 3 level 1 talents called Growth of All Things, Divine Evolution, an ancestral tree of all things. Shang possessed the insect mother named Little Nine, or better known as 9 miasma wings. She had a natural calamity level. He didn't have any equipment. He had 35 points in strength, 31 in agility, 27 in endurance, and 20 in constitution. His combat power score was 41 stars. Currently, he had 2 active passive abilities called Experience Return and Attribute Enhancement. The current devouring value was 100 and the current experience was 0. Jang decided to test his skills. He reached out to one side and gave Little Nine the command to transform into a poisonous mist and follow him. She listened to him and transformed into a poisonous mist, which began to stick to the ground. At that moment, the monsters called shadow lurkers started advancing rapidly towards Jang. He brought his hand close to his face, and while his hand was releasing the poisonous mist from Little Nine, he started staring at the monsters. Several seconds later, he began running towards them. Upon seeing this, the monsters tried to attack Jang, but he dodged their attacks and in the process touched their bodies with his hand, infecting them with the poisonous mist. The monsters began to look towards the body part where Jang had touched them, and upon seeing poisonous mist, they became confused. While Jang was staring at the monsters, he extended his hand towards them, then clenched his fist tightly and started smiling. At that moment, Little Nine's poisonous mist grew thicker and slowly began to corrode the bodies of the monsters. Gradually destroying them, Jang simply turned his head towards the monsters and remained silently watching. At that moment, several system windows appeared, and he gained 200 special price. While Jang was looking at the corpses of the monsters, he thought that they were no match for him. He began to smile as he saw that the devouring value was also increasing rapidly. As he was lost in his thoughts, Little Nine appeared and informed him that more blood food had appeared. Behind them, more shadow lurker monsters began to appear. Zhang simply put his hands in his pockets and remained silent without making any movement. Then he turned his head towards the monsters, and while staring at them intently, he felt worried about Uncle Wong and the others as he realized that there were actually many hidden monsters in this dungeon. He decided to quickly finish off these monsters to go check on how Uncle Wong and the others were doing. He asked Little Nine if she would be able to deal with the monsters. Little by little, she began to manifest herself through the poisonous mist. While staring at the monsters, she reached out her hand towards them and asked Young to leave them in her hands. As for her, all these monsters were small prey. Several minutes later, Zhang went to where Uncle Wong and the others were. Upon arrival, he saw that Uncle Wong was quite injured. The two of them were surrounded by monsters. Uncle Wong was holding the sword with both hands and had his back against Xiaoyi's back. She had both hands extended towards the monsters and was ready to use her ability to defend herself against the attack. Gradually, the monsters began to advance quickly towards Uncle Wong and Seoi, preparing to attack. While the blood from Uncle Wang's wound was falling onto his face, he clenched his teeth tightly and while staring at the monsters, he explained to Xiaoyu that each time the monsters were becoming harder to defeat. Therefore, if they continued at this pace, there was no way they could defeat them and come out alive. Uncle Wong turned his head towards her and ordered her to find Zhang and leave here first. Upon hearing this, she turned her head towards him and asked what he was talking about. While he was distracted, an undead soldier gained momentum and started advancing quickly towards Uncle Wong with the intention of attacking him by surprise. While Uncle Wong held the sword with one hand and looked away, he felt the presence of the undead soldier and began to wonder what was happening. Quickly, he turned his head towards the monster and upon seeing that its sword was rapidly approaching his head, he clenched his teeth tightly and thought that this was not good. At that moment, Zhang appeared. He reached out towards the monster and used Little Nine's poisonous mist ability. Undead soldier's sword could impact Uncle Wong. The poisonous mist stuck to it.
At that moment, Jiang appeared. He reached out towards the monster, and used Little Nine's poisonous mist ability. Undead soldier's sword could impact Uncle Wong. The poisonous mist stuck to its body and slowly began to corrode it, destroying it in the process. While little by little the body of the undead soldier was disappearing, Uncle Wong turned around and upon seeing this, he was surprised and confused at the same time, and began to wonder what was happening. At that moment, Jiang asked Uncle Wong and the others if they were okay. Upon hearing Jiang's voice, Uncle Wong turned his head back and upon seeing Jiang, he clenched his teeth tightly, and remained speechless. As Jiang slowly approached them, he reached out his hand to one side and used Little Nine's poisonous mist, infecting the undead soldiers and destroying them in the process. While little by little all the undead soldiers were being corroded, Uncle Wong turned his body towards Jiang. While holding the sword with one hand, he stared at Jiang and asked him how a creation class awakened like him was able to do this. Jiang stopped in front of Uncle Wong, and while his body emitted a powerful energy, he turned his head towards him and explained with a smile that he had a hidden ability called Poisonous Mist. After saying this, he extended his hand to the side and used Little Nine's Poisonous Mist ability again. Seeing that Uncle Wong was injured, Jiang asked Zio Lai to quickly take him to the portal of the secret realm. He also added that he planned to stay behind to cover them. Upon hearing this, everyone was left speechless. With a surprised look, Uncle Wong started to stare at him, and told him that even though Jiang possessed a divine class, this was too dangerous. Xiao Yu also began to look at Jiang with a surprised expression, and asked him to join them instead of staying here fighting against the undead soldiers. While they were talking, Xiaoyu simply put her hand near her mouth and remained silent. Jiang turned his back on them, and as his body emitted a powerful energy, he slightly turned his head towards them and reassured Uncle Wang not to worry because he wouldn't have any problems. After saying this, Jiang turned his back on Uncle Wang and the others, and as his body emitted a powerful energy, he slowly began to approach the monsters. At that moment, the system notified everyone that due to the number of people in the last level of the secret realm meeting the requirements, the boss of the secret realm was being summoned. While Uncle Wang was watching Jiang move away from them and advance towards the monsters, he tried to stop him, but just before he could speak, Zhaoyi interrupted him. She turned her head towards him and reminded him that Jiang was not a reckless person, so she asked him to trust him. After much consideration, Uncle Wang decided to trust Jiang. He threw him the sword and asked him not to forget to return it later. Upon hearing this, Jiang reached out and grabbed the sword, assuring Uncle Wang not to worry as he would return it later. This sword was called the Novice Conqueror's Sword. It had 25 speed points, 30 strength points, and a 2% attack speed bonus. It also had a passive ability that was already active. Jiang brought the sword close to his face and stared aggressively at the monsters. For him, this was great because now he could increase the attack range of the poisonous mist with Uncle Wang's sword. He activated the poisonous mist, causing it to slowly emerge on the blade of his sword. The undead soldiers gained momentum and attempted to attack Jiang. But in the blink of an eye, he evaded their attacks and using Uncle Wang's sword cut the monsters into pieces, infecting them with the poisonous mist in the process. These monsters were no match for Jiang as he was the best swordsman in the entire school. While Jiang was distracted fighting against the undead soldiers, a much stronger monster gained momentum and began to advance towards him at high speed. The monster unsheathed its sword and as it slowly approached Jiang, it prepared to attack him by surprise.
Although Jiang didn't initially feel the presence of the attack, once he turned his head to the side, he saw the monster approaching him at great speed. Jiang gathered momentum and made a big leap, dodging the monster's attack and causing its sword to strike the ground. The monster's attack was so strong that it even shattered the ground into pieces. Upon seeing that Jiang had dodged the attack, the monster began to stare at him with a murderous look, then tightly gripped the sword and, upon seeing that he was in the air, attacked again. Luckily, Jiang managed to block the attack in time using Uncle Wang's sword. However, due to the difference in strength, the sword that Uncle Wang had lent him broke in half, causing Jiang to be thrown backwards. Quickly, Jiang stepped on the ground and managed to stop his body in motion. Then he turned his head to the side and, upon seeing that Uncle Wang's sword had broken, he was surprised. This boss was stronger than he had imagined. Jiang was more worried about the sword than the boss, as he didn't know how to explain to Uncle Wang that his sword had broken. The secret realm was called Undead King and was level 15. The Undead King stood and while holding the sword in one hand, started staring at Jiang with a murderous look. At that moment, the body of the Undead King began to vibrate, and in the blink of an eye, it appeared behind Jiang and prepared to attack. Upon realizing the presence of the Undead King, Jiang became terrified and started wondering how the boss had moved at such a high speed. Jiang turned his head towards the Undead King and while looking at it with an aggressive gaze he called for Little Nine. Just before the Undead King's sword could strike Jiang, Little Nine appeared and grabbed hold of the blade. She began to stare fixedly at the Undead King and asked Jiang if she could eliminate him without hesitation. Jiang replied yes. Upon hearing this, Little Nine became happy and, using only her hand, she broke the blade of the Undead King's sword into pieces. She extended her hands to the sides and her body started emitting a powerful energy that began to move in all directions. Upon seeing this, the Undead King became alert. Now that it had lost his sword, it decided to attack using its fists, taking advantage of Little Nine's distraction. The Undead King began to advance quickly towards her with the intention of attacking her by surprise. At that moment, Little Nine opened her eyes and her body changed drastically. With a killer look in her eyes, she started staring directly at the Undead King and used the tentacles to defend herself. She adopted an offensive stance and using her tentacles, she began to attack the Undead King with a series of blows. Her tentacles were as sharp as swords. Little by little, her sharp tentacles started to destroy the body of the Undead King. First, she cut off its left arm, and then its right arm, and finally she cut off its head. She impaled the tentacle into the head of the undead king, then turned around and the boss's body fell to the ground. She took the head of the undead king in her hand, and while her body was emitting a powerful energy, she began to approach Jiang. Seeing how powerful she was, Jiang couldn't help but smile. He couldn't believe that Little Nine was so calm in front of a secret realm boss. He thought that now that the boss had been defeated, the portal would open. Little Nine gained momentum and landed near Jiang. At that moment, an energy crystal appeared in front of him. While he stared at the crystal, he started to wonder what it was. The energy crystal began to rise in the sky and slowly started extracting magic from the corpses of the monsters. Upon seeing this, Jiang was amazed. Several seconds later, the energy crystal began to glow, causing a giant monster to appear. This monster was called Undead Tyrant and it was 20 times bigger than Little Nine and Jiang. With a killer look, the Undead Tyrant began to stare at Jiang and Little Nine. Seeing that the crystal had transformed into a monster, he started to wonder if the energy crystal was the true boss of this secret realm. Jiang turned his head back, clenched his teeth tightly, and ordered Little Nine to destroy the energy crystal inside the Undead Tyrant. While the monster stared at Jiang, it began to roar. The monster struck Little Nine with a mace, but in the blink of an eye, she gained momentum and propelled herself off the wall, dodging the attack. Upon seeing that she had dodged the attack, the Undead Tyrant prepared to attack again. It attacked Little Nine once more, but she gained momentum and made a big leap in the air, evading the attack in the process. This caused the monster's mace to hit the ground, shattering it into pieces, while Little Nine was in midair. With a murderous look on her face, she began to stare intensely at the Undead Tyrant and then extended her hands towards it, causing sharp tentacles to quickly advance towards it. She began to attack the boss using her sharp tentacles, but effortlessly it dodged all the attacks as if nothing. Seeing that the Undead Tyrant, being such a large monster, was able to move at such high speed, Jiang was surprised. He clenched his teeth tightly and started thinking of a plan. Looking down at the ground, he saw several plants among the debris. Upon seeing this, he decided to take advantage and use his divine creation class called Spiritual Master. He began to stare at the plants and thought that he only had one chance.
This chapter comes to an end. I hope that you liked today's video, and if you did, comment part 2 down below for the next part. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. And I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.